It's officially October, and many of us in the Northern Hemisphere are starting our preparations for Samhain. The 4 Celtic fire festivals are heavily celebrated by me, though I'm the only person in my home that does so, unless we count Halloween. This is the first year of celebrating Samhain in our new house. And since having an apartment and not a lot of space over the last few years, I really don't have a lot of decorations. I'm the kind of person that, why bother decorating if I'm just gonna have to take it down later when we move again? But since we have a home and I don't plan on moving again anytime soon, I now have space in my head and heart for decorations. I also hardly ever switch up my altar decorations. I currently have one fixed altar for Bridget and no other altars. This is changing though, and I'm feeling a very strong pull toward ancestor work and digging deeper into the past. Today, I'd like to bring you with me as I craft some new decorations for a brand new altar space and sprinkle in some of my thoughts that I've been having on ancestor work as a beginner and just as someone that has complicated lineage, I guess. The first thing I'm gonna craft is a new altar cloth. If you crochet and you'd like to make one of these, I'll link the pattern in the description. I chose these 2 colors because they're neutral, mainly. I don't like to do a lot of color in my spaces and decorations. Neutral just works best for me. Anyway, even though they're neutral, the 2 colors still have meaning. The black reminds me of the darkness of this half of the year, while the gray has silver strands of shiny pieces in it to remind me that darkness only exists because of light, and we must have both in our lives for balance. It's also a reminder to me of my ancestors, that balance, that 2 sides to every coin, 2 sides to every story, aggressors and victims, those that hurt and those that did the hurting. Over the last few weeks, my mom has been doing more genealogy research. This is work that she's done on her own, but also an extension of what my grandmother did before her. There have been some interesting revelations and connections that have been made in my family tree that have me thinking about healing, hurting, violence, and victims. You see, I'm a white American cisgender woman that's part of the queer community. My recent ancestors are also white Americans, but the further I go back, the further in history that I look, I'm confronted with a few conundrums. As a white American, and I fully recognize my privilege to even have access to this information, most of my ancestors are not native to this land, but some are. I have ancestors on both sides, indigenous and colonizers. Ancestors that came to the United States from another country and were persecuted for not being quote-unquote American. Ancestors with last names like Proctor and Putnam. Royal ancestors hundreds of years ago responsible for horrendous crimes and amazing feats of bravery. I even have an ancestor that we just found from the Revolutionary War, fighting on the side of the United States, but deflecting back to the British. He was then captured by the United States and given the punishment of 100 lashings for treason. With all of this, and this call for ancestor work, not just from recent ancestors, but something deep and older, how then do I contend with the fact that some of my ancestors were horrible people? How do I contend with the fact that some of my ancestors were wronged by horrible people? And how do I begin that process of healing and connecting that I'm being called to do, that I feel needs to be done? That's what this altar is for. Ancestor work, healing, and connecting with the past to build a better future. The spiral here is also important to me. It's an important lesson in lessons, actually, that sometimes we have to revisit the same lesson again and again in different ways until we get it through our thick, mortal skulls. It's a lesson that our ancestors will make the same mistakes over and over again, continuing the path of the spiral until someone finally stops it. A spiral can continue on and on forever into the abyss of the universe. Past, present, and future. The spiral is my lesson that some lessons need to stop with me. Some stories need to stop with me. On to a lighter note, because I just got very heavy and very deep with strangers on the internet. I don't know if this has any historical basis, anywhere that it's rooted in history, but as I was writing my notes for this video, the idea popped into my head. See, I don't have photos of a lot of my ancestors, and some ancestors I would rather not have on my altar at all. The black mirror is a way for them to show up at the altar when necessary or called and have a space there. The candle reflected on the mirror gives them a light to follow, a way to be with me, guide me, and pass on messages. It's a way for their reflection to be shared in my space when I don't have their photo. A way for me to see them and be with them when I can. Ancestor work can be deep and difficult, and honestly, it kind of scares me. I'm a witch that hates confrontation, but I'm also a witch with some generational trauma, hate, and healing that needs to happen. Samhain is the perfect time to get that started. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.